Peeplons and alpacas, this is Livy, and this is a video that is long overdue, just like a book. Except this book is not from the library, it's from Amazon, and I'm keeping it. I know, I've been wanting to do a review of Cuphead In Carnival Chaos, and you guys had been wanting it, and I meant to do it last week, but some things happened, some things came up. I was like, okay, this week, but then again, some things came up. I'm finally gonna do it today. I tried to do it other days. I recorded myself, and I was like, it's good. Yes, the book was really good, but more to a review is more than just saying, it's good. As a fair warning, these are just opinions, what I'm going to say about the book. These are just my personal opinions. If you don't want any spoilers, then don't watch this video. Just come back to this video when you're done reading it and just see my opinion on it. If you want to. I'm not forcing you to. But if you want to. I think this is a very excellent book and a very special spotlight of the Cup Bros and Eat Wild. Some of the other characters you get to know a little bit more about their personalities, but not everybody, because there's some that are not mentioned at all. And of course, that would be very, very chaotic if you put all the characters that were ever in Cuphead in one book. That would be extremely chaotic. Especially like here and there and there. I'm actually surprised the amount of bosses that they used in this book, as they did. Is the book perfect? No, it's not. But it's still really good. Just because the book is not perfect, and there's some things that I will say that wasn't either necessary or could be fixed a little bit, does not mean the book's bad. It's just not perfect. Like, no book is perfect. At least, no story's perfect. If there is, that's one hell of a story. I would like to review a little bit on this book, and I've written some notes because, again, I tried to make this video before, and I just sat there in absolute silence. I don't have any pictures up because I'm for copyright reasons, but you can see the pictures. Like, for review, I can do this way, but I cannot, like, show you every single picture in the book. Because, again, there's actually a thing in here that, unless you're doing a review is fine, but if you want to, like, read the book or show the book on YouTube and everything, you have to send an email, gain permission to do so. So that's why there was never no reading in there. I was thinking about doing it, but nobody replied to a tweet, and then I saw in there and I was like, oh, I could have did an email, but it wouldn't be of the whole book, it would be just like of the first chapters or something. So I'm sorry, that's not going to be a part of the channel to read some of the book, because I don't want to get into trouble for copyright, but I can review it. It said in here that I can review it. It's fine. For some of the chapters, I can see just the first chapter as a episode itself, especially with the first chapter of Cuphead waking up in bed, and all of his stuff in his room are like teaming up together, just trying to get him out of bed, and they all went through this whole routine and everything. I can kind of see that as an episode itself, and especially like trial and error and all that. The bit at the end when after Cuphead is woken up and he went to his octopus calendar and we're playing a game and shaking hands, or 8 hands, that's a really cute cartoon touch. I can picture that so perfectly in any 1930s cartoon. It's excellent. But I can see that part more for the beginning of chapter 2 than the end of chapter 1. And I will have to say, chapter 2 perfectly describes how Cuphead is as a character, and is pretty much based on most headcanons that some people have said about, and I think that's what they're focusing on, is they were focusing on a lot of headcanons, and they're like, I like that idea. British mugs. And I'm actually gonna get to that later. What? Yes. But one of the most popular headcanons for Cuphead is that he's a glutton and that he's a troublemaker, which that's easily explained in the game too, since he did bet his and Mugman's soul for the devil. So yeah, that's trouble enough, but in there, like, in the book, he was playing baseball, which is actually a new characteristic to learn about Cuphead, is that he loves baseball, which is actually a very, very popular sport in the 1930s. That's when baseball was starting to get its, like, up and running. I guess that's the word that I'm looking for, and that's, like, one of his favorite hobbies and sports. But is Cuphead considered himself an athlete? Yes and no, because he doesn't say stuff like, oh, I love sports. but he just loves to play baseball, and he mentioned later in the book that when he grew up, he kind of wants to be a baseball player. He wants to be a baseball player, but that's not like 100% canon quite yet. At least, I don't believe it is quite yet. And as for the glutton, he had himself a bowl of cereal and pancakes, while Mugman just had a bowl of cereal. It was like, do you really need cereal and pancakes? Whew, jeez! Way to start up your morning. And also, it mentions about how his appetite is later on in the book. But also, it does explain, like, it said in a lot of things that Cuphead is actually a really sweet kid. And it does show because he is sorry for causing trouble with the baseball. Oh, I didn't finish that! That he was playing baseball and it hit Hildeberg's garden and messed it up. And he was quite apologetic of it. Like, he didn't mean to cause that much trouble. He just wanted to play baseball and have fun. That's all he wanted to do. That scene kind of reminds me of that scene from the live-action Dennis the Menace movie from the 90s.
Oh. Oh, I'm very sorry.
But yeah, it reminded me so much of that scene, of how he was sitting there and like, hi. Like, he know what he did was wrong, but he's sorry for it. He really is. And as in for chapter 3, and no, I'm not doing it chapter by chapter by chapter. It's basically just the first 3 chapters that I'm doing that with. Again, like chapter 1, I can see that being a whole cartoon short itself. Cuphead chasing after his piggy bank, who is named Piggy, and how they gave him like a rough personality, almost like he's a relative of Porkrind, which we'll get to him later actually. And really quickly, like this book actually took me 6 hours to read, and for me to be able to read a book and remember what I read, I have to read it to myself out loud. Imagine all the water and diet pop I have to drink just to save my throat from cracking and dying, and it's just how I read. I'm not dyslexic, I'm not an illiterate, it's easier for me to read that way. Like, I do have a hard time reading, and for me to be able to read things successfully and remember it, I have to read it aloud to myself. And also, speaking of like headcanons, like I'm actually now going like a lot of chapters right now. Like, I'm not going from chapter to chapter to chapter because that would be really hard to do, and it would be like, okay, there's this, there's that. So it's like all together. But the one that other fan theories is the age of the cups. And it's almost pretty right. And what I mean by that is the age group thing. How I mentioned this, like, I always thought they were twins, even though in the beginning of the 2nd chapter, they called Mugman his younger brother. But according to the Cuphead Wiki, at least the last time I checked it, according to the Cuphead Wiki, they called Mugman his younger twin brother. Oh? So it is possible that they could still be twins, or he can be the younger brother. Like Mario and Luigi, like how Luigi is taller and he's the younger brother. Same with Mugman, he's taller and he's the younger brother. But that doesn't confirm how old they are. All we know is they attend Inkwell Elementary, which back in the 30s, that can range from a lot of grades. I don't remember what grade my mom was in the 6th grade, but what year my mom was in the 6th grade, sorry. It's probably in the 60s somewhere, but when she was in grade school, they had 6th grade in grade school. Well, today, 6th grade is in junior high, and most 6th graders are, 12, 11, and Cuphead and Mugman are in the same class. However, also back in the 30s, and I remember this from my grandma, she said that there would be kids in different grades in the same class. So that does not confirm what grade they're in or how old they are, what's the age difference between them, because that's a very, very common thing in the 1930s. Again, like they showed in the book, they did go to what they call a schoolhouse. Again, different grades, like there were even kindergarten or 1st grade? I think it's more 1st grade than kindergarten. There were only 2 1st grade students in the class. So, yeah, it was that type of class. That's what they did in the 30s. Even though my grandma went to school in the 40s, I think? I can't really 100% remember. And also, yes, there were some cheesy elements in the book. Like, some props that they used that I did think was a little cheesy, and I'll get to more. I'll tell you some now, and I'll get to more later. Like, for one, Mugman had this thinking cap, which said it looked like a hat that's a brain. and he put it on, and he's trying to think of an idea. And I'm like, I kind of don't think it's necessary for a Mugman of all characters to have a thinking cap since he's smart. Like, he's not a genius, he's no Jimmy Neutron or Dexter or anybody like that, but he's smarter. He's smarter than Cuppy, we know that, and it definitely shows in the book. But I don't think the thinking cap was necessary, and the design of it sounds pretty disturbing. It's a hat that looks like a brain. It's like, oh god, that's terrifying. And also, at the front of the school, they had this welcome mat that talks when you come in. It's like, ow, hi, ow, welcome to school, ow, you know, that. I kind of think that's a little cheesy to do that. And especially, like, what if you scrape dog poop on him? That would be so... I know they would not do that. They would not do that, but I kind of think that the talking welcome mat is kind of cheesy. And also, Miss Chalice, which I'll get a lot to her in a bit, how she helped the boys get into school when they were running late. She yo-yoed them up, which I'm like, that seems a little too complicated, and I'm not 100% sure of that idea. I know a lot of you guys might think differently. Like, you know, whoop, whoop. I'm not sure if that was the best idea for them to come up. Like, it's a good idea, but I don't think it's the best. I could have thought of maybe something better. Maybe they've thought of something better. I don't know. Like, again, this is just opinions. It's not like, man, it should be like this, it should be like that. Like, I just thought the yo-yo gag was a little too much, and it's a little too complicated to get them up. I know, it's supposed to be like a cartoon. I'm just saying. Like, even if it's a cartoon, it would be, like, such a wow. And also, Silverworths. I thought his name was Forkington, because that's what a lot of that's what a lot of fans were calling him, and I thought it was in, like, the wiki or in the files or something like that, but no, his name is Silverworth. And why is he the principal? I don't know why he was picked to be the principal. I think he's a little too posh to be the principal. Like, he could have had a better job for him than just a school principal, because, again, I just think he's a little too proper and posh, and, you know. But that, again, that's just my personal opinion. Now onto Miss Chalice. Miss Chalice is a very lovable character in the book. She really is. But no buts at all. Miss Chalice seems to be the gender-bent version of Cuphead and Mugman together. Like, if they were one character. Because she has the energy and fearlessness of Cuphead that, you know, she could possibly cause trouble if she can. She's also cautious, and she's really smart, just like Mugman. So she's both of those characters together, and she has her whole own spunk and sassiness to the character. Like, she's not a bitch. She's far from that, but she's, like, you know, fun and playful and, you know, gives a little attitude. Like, that's basically who she is, and she always thinks of a way to get them out of trouble. And there's always a character like that in cartoons, because I remember there's always a character like, wait a second, I have a plan. You know, the one character in, like, a group of friends, and they will be like in trouble, like, what do we do? And it's like, I got a plan. One example I could think about is that 101 Dalmatians cartoon from the 90s or early 2000s. I don't remember which one, but Lucky was that character.
Okay, what do we do? I've got a plan.
Talking about characters, we're going to talk a little bit about Porkrind. This book really did show his true nature of what type of character he is. And unsurprisingly, he's an asshole. Let me tell you, he is worse than King Dice as a character. He is worse. What? He is? Like, I'm going to be talking about King Dice as a character in a separate video, but I don't know how long until I make that one, but I am thinking about making a video just talking about King Dice. But yeah, Porkrind is an absolute asshole in this book. He's fairly strict when it comes to time. He was like, okay, I close in 4 minutes, and if you don't get your stuff and go, I'm closing it right in your face. Yep, he's that guy. And they got all the money out for Elder Kettle's present, which was a golden pocket watch. And they got the last cent, and before they put it on the table, he's like, we're closed, and give them back the money and put the watch away, and he's like, now get. Oh man. I don't think I've ever went to a store that they were that bad. I remember, I think there was one time that they won't let people in because they were 2 minutes so 5 minutes till closing, and they're like, no, we're not letting people in. And also, that lady was a bitch. It's a story from a long time ago. I'm not even going to talk about it. I felt really bad for them that they couldn't be fast enough to get the money on the counter to buy the watch. But then again, if they did not do that, then they wouldn't have this excellent story that you're gonna experience when you read this book. One thing that was mentioned earlier in the book, just like in the game where Elder Kettle warned the Cups about the Devil's Casino, he saw the carnivals coming to town in the paper and he warned the boys to never go to the carnival, and he said when he was a kid he was robbed by a clown, which was probably Beppy, or maybe Beppy's relative or whatever, and then they came across the carnival, and everybody in their school was talking about the carnival. They're gonna say, oh my god, it's so much fun, and everything like that, and they were like, no, we shouldn't go. Then Mugman was hypnotized by, that's right, Cala Maria. And when I was hearing, like, you know, like how Mugman was like doing the cartoon heart eyes and you know, the heart thing, and like, oh my god, my reaction to the Mugman and Chalice ship sailing is like the reaction of a girl that's the same age as me reacting to The Bachelor. Yeah, it was like that. Like, yeah, you other girls my age, you fangirl about a fake reality show, while I fangirl about an actual cartoon ship. Which, oh man, I was so freaking excited when I was reading that. I was like hardly containing myself. I know it sounds stupid that it's just a cartoon and they're cartoons and everything like that, but I was just so freaking excited because that's one of my favorite Cuphead fanships, and oh man, it was so cool. And I'll get to more of that later. They noticed that Mugman was hypnotized in the carnival. They were like, wait, we gotta get him. We gotta go in and get him. But then they wouldn't let Cuphead and Chalice in without a ticket. Before they could get in, like, they were like, oh no, we promised Elder Kettle that we wouldn't go in. Now Mugman's in there. What do I do? And then this part, it's both good and cheesy at the same time. Like in cartoons where they have the angel on one side and the devil on the other side. Those are your conscience. They had that with Cuppy, with an angel cup and a devil cup. And when I read that, I just started laughing. I was like, oh, cool. Because, you know, they always have that in cartoons. Like, it is a little cheesy, but I like that a lot. I actually really like that a lot. And he kind of, like, goes with Beaver most of the time. And so, he had no choice. He had to buy 2 tickets to go into the carnival just to find Mugman. And they were calling out, Mugman. And then they met Beppy, and Beppy was trying to get Cuppy's money. And then Chalice was like, okay, the game was the guess your weight game. Then Miss Chalice came to him and said, you can guess my weight. And then he picked her up, and then an anvil fell on his head. And she was like, oops, put on a little too much weight. I love that joke. I love that joke so freaking much. And then they go into the tents trying to find Mugman, like, Mugman. And this I thought was funny. Miss Chalice went to this one guy and was like, are you Mugman? He was like, no, I'm Carl. I kind of thought that was kind of funny. And then they were watching a Sally stage play. That was terrible, but still people were going, yay, because, you know, she's just reciting random lines from, like, Shakespeare and other well-known... I can't think of what the word is. No! Like, Romeo, etc., like, stuff like that, and then Cuppy accidentally interrupted her show, and also revealed that there were people running around the audiences pickpocketing and stealing money from them, and they found that out and they got mad. The next chapter, they were going into a tent with Jimmy the Great, and I gotta show you the picture because I freaking love this picture. As soon as I find it. Yeah, this picture. I don't know how well you can see it, but this one. I freaking love that picture. I love the Cuppy doing this thing. I love that. And I love, like, how his head is so big, but his arm is short. It's almost like this. And I just think that picture is so adorable. And they were like, and they got curly fries! It was like, curly fries? I didn't think they had curly fries in the 1930s. Like, did they, or is that just for the book? I don't know. I don't really care, though. That I just love that book. Love that scene, that picture. And again, Jimmy the Great was playing his flute and having the snakes, like, you know, coming up and dancing. And also the snakes were stealing people's money. And again, they accidentally revealed that, and people got mad, and then they were coming after Jimmy. And also, one thing that I find it a little out of character for Cuphead, just a little bit, is that Cuphead is afraid of roller coasters. And I'm like, roller coasters? You're afraid of roller coasters? But yeah, Cuppy is terrified of roller coasters, which I find that very weird since he, like, bet his soul to the devil and went on a death-defying trip and everything, but of a roller coaster, he was so terrified of that. And Ms. Chalice was like, oh, come on, and he was like, no, can we go on the Ferris wheel instead? And she was like, fine. And so they went on the Ferris wheel, and then they stopped at the very top, and that's when all the bosses were like, after him! You know, chasing him, and, well, not chasing him, but they asked the guy that was controlling the Ferris wheel to make it faster so they would fly off, which they did. And then where they flew off to was at the airplane ride where they found Mugman. Which, one thing I forgot to mention earlier is that Mugman apparently loves toy planes, and he loves airplanes, and he wants to be, I think it was like, what are those called? Like, you do, like, stunts in an airplane, and you, like, fly. I want to say it's like a military, like, Air Force thing, but I don't think it's that. It's more like a sport type thing. But Mugman loves airplanes, and he was with Calla, but Calla was really sad that Mugman was too busy on the planes. Even though Mugman bought her all this stuff and won her all these prizes, she was still sad that Mugman would rather be on the plane ride other than buying stuff, eating stuff, and winning stuff. And so she was like, bye. But I have a feeling, deep down, that in future Cuphead stories, that's gonna happen again. That Cuphead and Calla will meet again. Kind of like, oh shit, I forgot his name. Kind of like Roger Rabbit and Jessica Rabbit. That's kind of how I see them like. It's like Calla is Jessica Rabbit and Mugman is Roger Rabbit. I kind of see them being that type of couple. Oh man, that would be really cool if that were the case. But I was so freaking excited when an actual ship from fans turned canon. I was so freaking excited about that. Like I said earlier, I was like fangirling all over the place. And also, Mugman found a new addiction, which are tin monkeys, which are like those monkey in the barrel toys that you link them and they make a chain. My mom loved those toys. But yeah, he was winning those. Speaking of things being canon and Mugman, by some things that I've read in the book, it might be canon that Mugman is British. Or has a British accent. And how I know that may be canon is that he was using some British slangs and also the teeth thing. Actually, I'll show you the picture of that chapter. Like, I won't show you the whole book again for copyright reasons. There we are. Like this. You get to see that throughout the book. He did that teeth thing so often. And also, he said a few British slangs. Like, one, I didn't even know it was British until I looked it up online to see if it was, and apparently it is! Holy mackerel! That's what he said. He was like, holy mackerel! Which, I was like, wait, is that a British slang? And I looked it up. It is. And also, holy mackerel is also a place in England. I don't remember what it actually is. Let me just pull it up really quickly. Oh, can't find it again, but... Oh, holy mackerel is also a publishing company! It's a publishing company. I thought I read it was a place, but no, it's a publishing company. And yes, Holy Mackerel is actually a... Wait a minute. But yeah, that was really cool that they put that reference in there, that Holy Mackerel is actually a British slang. I didn't think of it at first, but then I Googled it and I was like, holy crap, it is. So yes, it is true that Mugman could be British. And there's another thing later on, but I don't want to jump there quite yet. But I am just so happy that may be canon. Hashtag British Mugman in the comments. Do it now! And then they found out that they've accidentally spent the money that was meant to be for the present to get into the carnival and get into these shows and tents and rides just to find Mugman. And they all felt really bad about it. But then Briny Beard said, this is the easiest game of the ride. Of the carnival, arg. I cannot do Briny Beard, so don't ask me to do Briny Beard. And it was a game that Cuphead has to throw a ball and dunk a duck. He managed to do so, but the ducks were a little bit teasy, and with enough frustration, made Cuphead more madder and start, throwing and make sure to dunk the duck. And then he won the gold watch, which that was actually one of the prizes, which that's pretty expensive prize from a carnival. Wow. And then the duck was like, I'm gonna shake your head. And then when Cuphead won, snatched, the duck grabbed his watch and flew away with it and went into a tent with a whole bunch of ducks. Yeah, you heard me right. It's a whole bunch of ducks in this tent. And then there was a magic show by Hoppus Pockus, also known as King Dice's pet rabbit. Hoppus Pockus tried to trap Cuppy by putting him in the box that you saw in half, and yep, sawed him in half. And one end of him was in one side of the tent, and the other end was on the other side of the tent, and while the duck had the watch and was like, and Cuppy's like, no, it's not, it's mine! And so then Hoppus, smashed the, watch, and at first you were like, no! And then he put it back together, and Cuppy's like, oh, can I have that back? And he was like, you can't if you catch me! Then throughout the book, they for a few chapters, they chase Hoppus Pockus to get the watch, and then Hoppus had these female turtles that surprisingly run very fast, take the watch and start running, and then they end up chasing the little turtles throughout the book, and then finally, wait, no, I'm getting a little too far ahead of myself. And then the turtle came up to the group of the bosses that were mad at the cups, and it was like, you want this? They get it! And they threw it on top of the roller coaster that Cuphead was so terrified to go on. And in order for them to get it, Cuphead had to ride the roller coaster, and he did, and he got it. And you thought that everything ends there. Nope, it does not. Then they were running, and still the bosses were chasing them. And then they split, Cuphead and Chalice went one way, and Mugman went the other way. And Cuphead and Chalice went into a bumper cars, and Chalice started driving because apparently Chalice wants to be a race car driver. Which, yes, that was a sport in the 30s. That was. But it wasn't like what it is today, but yes, it was a sport. And so then they start driving the bumper car out of the carnival, and then they were chasing them in bumper cars. But Mugman actually rode the plane ride and actually flew the plane out of the carnival. And then, they all know he flew down, but I don't remember how Cuphead and Chalice got on Mugman's plane. But then they were all flying in the plane, and then they, again, ruined Hildeberg's garden, and she got mad and started throwing fruits and vegetables at them to stop. Then the airplane broke, and here's the other British Mugman clue. They were following, and they were like, what do we do? And Mugman was like, well, we can use our underpants as parachutes. Underpants.
What? Is it a plane?
Is that guy wearing my underpants?
Yes, it can go either way, but by my understanding, it's most British that call underwear underpants. And then they landed in the party and gave Alder Kettle the watch, along with the quartet, which actually came throughout the whole book. I forgot to mention them. And even when Cuphead was playing the game with the throwing the balls at the duck, Miss Chalice got the quartet, and she's like, everybody, join the sing-along! I don't know the words, then follow the bouncing ball! Again, I thought that was a little bit too cheesy to have the bouncing ball all as everybody's singing along to make Cuppy win. I thought that was a little bit cheesy, but whatever. And then they came back to school. Oh crap, I forgot to mention about that. They got detention, and oh jeez, I'm sorry, this is the first time I've ever done a review on anything. That they got detention and they got Mac to control these dummies that were made horribly by Chalice. And they went back to school, and they were all wearing dunce caps. And then we're like, why are they wearing dunce caps? And the teacher was like, oh, because they got every question wrong on a pop quiz. Nice try. They got detention because they were throwing paper airplanes at each other, trying to get messages about how to get Alder Kettle's present. And then they got them detention, and that's why they were late at Porkrind shop. So, sorry, I should have mentioned that earlier. Oh man, I've never really done a review before. Some of it, I've written it down, but then I improvised the rest. I've never done anything like this before, so excuse me for being a little bit off about some things. But here are some of my points. Did I like the book? Of course I did. Is the book perfect? No, I would give the book probably a 95 out of 100. That's the grade I think I would give the book. And do I wish that there would be more Cuphead novels like this? Absolutely. And I will read them. I don't know if I'll do reviews on every single one of them, but yes, I will try to find time to a few hours to read the whole Cuphead book. It's awesome. I love hearing more of what the Cups are up to and whatever adventures they go on. And I love their use of vocabulary, especially Cuppy's. It's like, wow, I really like Cuppy's use of vocabulary. I like how he says stuff like, oh dear, or thank goodness, or jeepers. It's just so freaking cute. Wow. You tell me in the comment section below if you've read the book, and if you have, what do you honestly think about it? Like, did you like it? Did you hate it? Or, I don't know, do you love it or do you hate it? I loved it. Like, even though I don't think it's 100% perfect, but I still love the book. Do I recommend this book? Absolutely. To any Cuphead fan? Absolutely. What about someone who's not a fan of Cuphead? To someone who's not a fan of Cuphead, I would say play the game first, then possibly read this, because there are some things that I think you could read this without playing the game, because it's a whole different story, and there's not, like, a lot of references from the game. So, yeah, they could be a little confused at some parts, but yeah, most of it, there's not really a lot of video game references. But overall, I just frickin' love the book. Thank you for watching. Be sure you subscribe for more Cuphead and randomness.